It seems like a lot of people are worried and scared about where Bitcoin is going in the short term and in the long term. The problem with Bitcoin's price falling so much in a very short period of time, it's fallen 25% in about a month. The problem with that is that a lot of people start thinking that that's how the trend is going to be going forward and pretty much forever. I'm noticing this with the people who are around me. I'm noticing this in my community a little bit. Most of the people in the community are pretty calm, but I'm noticing the most on social media that most people are very scared and they're very worried. They think that Bitcoin is going to zero. They think it's going to be another 80% drawdown, and we're going to see a massive loss for anybody who's holding Bitcoin right now. And in this video, I want to talk to you about where we are in the cycle, at least in my opinion. Keep in mind, I could be completely wrong. For all we know, we could have the worst bear market of all time. Bitcoin's price drops 95%. Everybody gets wiped out. But I don't personally think that that's what's going to happen. In this video, I want to go into my thoughts of where we are in the market cycle and where I think we're going in the short and long term. Let's get started. I want to start with a post that I made actually right before Bitcoin's price fell significantly. So this was November 5th, 2025. You can see here at that point, Bitcoin's price was $101,000. So it went from a high of $104,000 during the day to a low of $98,943 during the day, and then a close of about $103,000, it seemed like. So let's go back to that post. What I said here was that I think we're at the point right before optimism, but who's left to be optimistic? So many people have gotten wiped out because of this fall in Bitcoin's price. October killed a ton of portfolios. People actually really hurt themselves after they saw their portfolio dropping so much. A lot of people were leveraged and they lost everything. Early November killed even more. And of course, it's happening as we speak. Bitcoin's price keeps dropping and keeps dropping. And people are so worried and they're scared and they think that we're headed to zero. This is going nowhere. It's going to collapse. I don't know about this. I don't know if this will be right or wrong. This is just what I think. But I personally think that in the market cycle, here's where we are right now, right here. You can see here that this is pretty close to what we're seeing in Bitcoin's price right now, the area between disbelief and optimism. So let me show you the chart. If you take a look at Bitcoin's price on a log chart, you can see it's pretty much just moving up. It's grinding up. It's not really doing that much. It's not very volatile. It's going up slightly, then it's coming down. It's going up slightly, it's coming down, going up slightly, coming down. No real blow off top has been created yet. So let's go back to that picture. You can see here, this is pretty much exactly what Bitcoin's price looked like over the last little while, over the last, let's say, 2 to 3 years. I think that optimism, belief, thrill, and euphoria are ahead of us. And then, of course, we're going to get complacency. We're going to get anxiety and denial and panic. We're going to see a blow off top, and then we're going to see a massive crash. And that's normal for every single cycle. Maybe we're in that crash right now. For all I know, I can't tell you what's going to happen in the next 2, 3, 5, 6 months. I have no idea, but this is just my thought. I think that we're at the bottom here, right at the bottom of where it says optimism, right underneath that. I think we're at the bottom there, and I think we're headed towards euphoria. I think that that's where we're going. If you take a look at this 4-year moving average chart of Bitcoin, you can see something very similar happened. So from January 2015 to about January 2017, Bitcoin's price just went up pretty calmly. It didn't just go crazy. It didn't go too high above the 4-year moving average. The colors here indicate what the multiple is of Bitcoin's price compared to the 4-year moving average. So if it's red, you can see at the top here, it's at a 5. What that means is Bitcoin's price is 5 times the 4-year moving average. You can see here today, we're barely even 2 times above it. Barely even 2 times. When has there ever been a time where we've had a 80%, 90% drop when Bitcoin's price is only less than 2 times above the 4-year moving average? I don't think that's ever happened in the past. But you can see here Bitcoin's price fell about 70 to 80% from June 2019 all the way till March 2020. It went from 11,740 all the way to about 3,500 or so. I don't know the exact drop there, but at the top here, Bitcoin's price was about 4 times the simple moving average, 3.5 to 4 times the simple moving average. Same thing here. Bitcoin's price was 17.6 times, and the simple moving average at the time was 1,224. So Bitcoin's price was about 15 times the moving average. Same thing here. Bitcoin's price in December of 2013 was $1,055 and it fell to $234. So at the time, the simple moving average hadn't even been set up yet because it hadn't been 4 years for Bitcoin survival. But you would assume that the price was probably like 15 to 20 times above the simple move, the 4 year moving average. And the same thing here, we see Bitcoin's price go from about 60,000, 70,000 from 2021, November 2021, and the first one was April 2021, to about 15 or 16,000 in 2022. In this cycle, there hasn't been a blow off top yet. We haven't had the euphoria phase. We haven't had a phase where everybody's thinking, oh, Bitcoin's going up forever. There are, of course, people who think that Bitcoin's price is going to go up forever, but they don't just try to predict what's going to happen in the short term. This is me predicting what's going to happen in the short term. I don't think we've had these optimism, belief, thrill, and euphoria parts of the cycle yet because a lot of whales are selling their Bitcoin. One of the interesting things that you see from this chart here from Checkmatey, he's a on-chain analyst, you can call them. They basically look at what's happening to Bitcoin on the Bitcoin blockchain and they make charts, they make more data about it. So you can see here, the long-term sellers are giving away their Bitcoin. This is the long-term holder supply of Bitcoin in the last 30 days. So you can see here, there's a negative 30-day change in November, this is November 3rd. So the long-term holders are selling their Bitcoin, and that's perfectly fine. It's just being redistributed from people who've held since, let's say, 2010, 2015, 2012. It's moving from those people to people who are now buying in 2025. And that's perfectly fine because it means that more people get to take advantage of Bitcoin's growth over the next few decades. A lot of the people who are part of the Bitcoin market buying Bitcoin right now are the large institutions. For example, Harvard bought a ton of Bitcoin in the last few months or the last year or so. They have something like $400 million worth of BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF. So if you consider that and you consider all these other buyers, so BlackRock went from having 0 Bitcoin to having about 800,000 Bitcoin today. Michael Saylor's company Strategy went from having something like 150,000 Bitcoin to 640,000 Bitcoin today. So what's happening here is Bitcoin is moving from the people who held for the last decade or longer to the people who are buying new Bitcoin today. More people are learning about Bitcoin. Bitcoin's market is becoming deeper. More people are willing to buy on a consistent basis. You're going to see more passive buyers of Bitcoin over the next few years because they noticed that holding their Bitcoin from 2025 to, let's say, 2026, 2027 ended up with them being in a significant profit. So back to this chart here, I don't think we're headed to another bear market. I think it's just another repeat of the movement we saw from January 2025 to April of 2025. And then after April of 2025, Bitcoin's price went up slightly, then it came back down. You're going to see this over and over again because, as I predicted before, we are seeing a staircase movement in Bitcoin's price. We see the price go up, then it moves sideways for a very long time. Then it moves up, then it goes sideways for a very long time. Then it moves up again, and then it goes sideways for a very long time. It's because, number one, there's a lot of long-term holders selling. They're giving away their Bitcoin at these new prices that are achieved. So let's say if Bitcoin's price goes from $75,000 to $125,000, we have a new group of people who are willing to sell their Bitcoin. So the ones who buy Bitcoin and don't really understand it are just looking for the next top. So let's say they buy at 100,000, they might sell at 150,000. And then we see new supply enter the market at that point. Price comes back down a little bit from 150,000 maybe to 125, and then it goes back up again. It goes from 125 to 175. Every time Bitcoin's price falls, we're probably going to see more people saying the cycle is over. Bitcoin is going to zero. It's going to 10,000. It's going to 20,000. For all we know, like I said, I don't know if Bitcoin's price goes from $95,000 today all the way down to 85 or 80 or 70 or even 50 for all we know. All I'm going to do is buy more Bitcoin. If the price gets cheaper, why wouldn't I be happy, especially if I don't plan to retire over the next, let's say, 10 to 20 years? All that it means is that I get to buy more Bitcoin with the same money that I'm already earning. If the price goes to 200,000, I would be able to buy a quarter of the Bitcoin that I could buy if the price goes to 50,000. And this is why it's important to understand why if Bitcoin's price goes up, it becomes more appealing to people. And if it goes down, it becomes more appealing to people. If the price goes down, it means that, let's say, getting to your goal of 1 Bitcoin becomes easier to achieve. If the price goes up, more people see the price and they see that Bitcoin's going up and they want to participate, so they start buying. So when the price is going down, the people who are already buying Bitcoin get more attracted to it and they want to own more. But when the price goes up, you see new investors starting to pay attention and wanting to buy more Bitcoin. So if the price goes down too much, you're going to see people who are already buying Bitcoin buying more. But if the price goes up, you're going to see new investors join in the market to buy more Bitcoin. But I think this cycle is completely different from the previous ones. I think that we're going to have an extended cycle this time. I don't think we're going to have the same 4-year cycle that we did before because institutional investors are here. So institutional investors can borrow a lot of money, let's say billions of dollars at a very low interest rate, let's say 5 to 7%, while retail investors can borrow a fraction of that at a much higher interest rate. So let's say $1 million at 8.5 to 9%. I think understanding market cycles is probably one of the most important things that you can do. You have to understand that the price goes down, then it comes up, then it goes down, then it comes up. It does this over and over again. This is a post that I made on X in 2023. It's before I really started posting about Bitcoin regularly. You can see here, understanding market cycles will make you a much better investor. Let me explain how they work. So this is what you see. Sorry for the blurry picture. I couldn't find a better version of it. So simplified market cycles. Don't worry about the spelling errors here. It's not my picture. Somebody made this, but whatever. So you can see here, there's a peak. This is the point of maximum financial risk. If you're buying at the peak, then of course, Bitcoin's price could come down more compared to, let's say, if you buy at the bottom. This is exactly what Bitcoin's price looks like right now. So you can see here, there's a peak, then there's a trough. The peak is the point of maximum financial risk. The trough is the point of maximum financial opportunity. And then there's the recovery. So the recovery is at that point. And then there's prosperity. So the prosperity is the difference between the previous peak and the future peak. So if we go back to the Bitcoin chart here, exactly the same thing. Peak, trough, peak, trough, peak. We're now in the trough. Now is probably the best time to buy Bitcoin because you have less risk. If Bitcoin's price drops $10,000 from here, of course, you're going to see some losses, and that's perfectly fine because you understand that over time, there's going to be that gain because of prosperity. Over time, as more dollars are printed, Bitcoin's price has to go up. There's no way to stop this from happening. So what I wrote here was market cycles are recurring patterns that can be seen in financial markets over time. Cycles consist of alternating periods of growth and decline in asset prices. They're influenced by economic, psychological, and financial factors. So I want to show you something here, the fear and greed index. You can see right now, we're in extreme fear. But very recently, we were at greed. This was in October of 2025. So in October of 2025, Bitcoin made a high and people were greedy and they wanted to buy as much as they could. And today, after Bitcoin's price is at a low from the last few months, people are extremely fearful. And if we take a look at the chart, you can see exactly what happened here. October 6th, we had that greed on the chart, but October 6th, Bitcoin also hit its all-time high. Today, Bitcoin's price is at about 95,000. So it went from 126,000 to 95,000, and people are extremely fearful. People are saying Bitcoin's price is going to zero. Bitcoin's price is going to 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. I'm going to sit on the sidelines. I'm going to buy much lower. You can lose your money. They're getting very confident that Bitcoin's price is about to go into a massive 80, 90% bear market. But again, let's go back to this post here. They're influenced by economic, psychological, and financial factors. So psychological, I think, is the most important one here. Today, a lot of people are fearful. They don't want to buy Bitcoin, so Bitcoin's price is falling. But the people who are buying Bitcoin no matter what are stepping in and they're creating some support at the price where it is today, so about $95,000. Going forward, I think it's really important to understand that the people who are selling Bitcoin today will run out eventually. They won't have any Bitcoin to sell. And then over time, you're going to see more and more dollars being printed and added to the economy. Donald Trump came out and said he's going to inject the economy with $20 trillion. Where's that money going to go? Part of it is going to find its way into Bitcoin. I guarantee you that a lot of the wealthy people who own legacy assets are probably going to also sell their assets to buy Bitcoin when they see that Bitcoin's price is performing the way that it is over the next few months, few years. So the next part that I said here, while the intensity, volatility, and prices or length may be different during each cycle, the structure is generally the same. Number one, there's an expansion, there's a bull market. This is the beginning of the cycle. Institutional investors are confident, retail investors are fearful, economic conditions become favorable, for example, low inflation, Asset prices rise because of optimism. Central banks lower interest rates to encourage investment. So you can see that here. I think that we're actually headed towards this. I think we're headed towards the expansion. We're not even there yet. This increase that you saw in Bitcoin's price from 2022 was just a recovery to the previous price, and it went up slowly. It didn't have any kind of euphoria. It didn't have a blow off top. And it's higher than the previous all time high because of inflation. So at the previous all time high, we had about $69,000. Today, Bitcoin's price is about $95,000. That's just a 40% increase from the previous all time high till today's price. And funny enough, that's probably the amount of purchasing power the US dollar lost in that time because of inflation. So let's go back to the post. I personally think that this is where we're headed in the next few months. Maybe I'm wrong here. Like I said, I don't know if this is going to be accurate. Don't quote me. Don't trade on this information. My suggestion here would be just to buy Bitcoin no matter what. It doesn't matter what the price is. Today, you're getting a discount of 25.5% compared to the peak. So you should be buying today. But regardless of where Bitcoin goes, eventually you're going to see a peak, then you're going to see a trough, then you're going to see another peak, then you're going to see another trough. So the second part of this cycle is the peak. This is the highest price level during the cycle. That's up here. Institutional investors take profits around this point. Retail investors start thinking prices will rise forever. Economic indicators seem strong. Excess speculation. Assets are overvalued. Central banks start raising rates. Central banks haven't even started raising rates yet. They're currently in the process of decreasing interest rates, and I think that governments are going to start sending out stimulus checks in the next few weeks and few months. The third part here is the contraction. This is the bear market. Asset prices decline. Retail investors become pessimistic. Corporate earnings decline. Economic indicators get weaker. Fear and uncertainty, selling pressure pushes asset prices down. Keep in mind that some of this doesn't really apply to Bitcoin because Bitcoin doesn't care about the legacy financial system. I know that it seems like it's correlated, but Bitcoin is completely separate from the legacy financial system. And I think that over the next few years, we're going to see a decoupling. Who knows? Maybe this cycle follows the path of the legacy markets and we go into a recession at some point and Bitcoin's price does fall. But at some point, you're going to see that that's not the case anymore. So this third part here is between the peak and the trough. This is where Bitcoin's price falls. And I think we went through that already. I think that Bitcoin's price already fell during that short 6-month or 8-month cycle here. Bitcoin's price is falling. It's in the process of falling right now. And usually there's some support near the previous all-time high in these cycles. So like I said, I don't know how low Bitcoin's price will go. I personally think that we've bottomed and we're probably going to start going higher in the next month or two. And now the fourth part, the trough. This is the lowest point in the cycle. Institutional investors start looking for opportunities to buy assets. Retail investors' sentiment is extremely negative. Exactly what we're seeing on social media right now. Widespread fear of more losses. People think Bitcoin's going to zero. Weak economic conditions. So what you have to understand here is after a trough, market cycles repeat and they go back to the expansion and bull market. Specific factors that influence cycles, so economic data, corporate earnings, geopolitical events, and interest rates. I think interest rates are about to head down. One thing you'll notice if you really pay attention to the market is that institutional investors do the exact opposite of what retail investors do. Institutional investors are called smart money because they're professionals. Retail investors are called dumb money. They're the average person with limited market knowledge. All they're doing is making their decisions based on price. If they see the price go down, they sell. If they see the price go up, they buy. Like I said before, you're going to see market cycles like this repeat over and over again. Floor prices for assets keep going up. They will keep going up forever because the US dollar keeps losing value over time. Each cycle, you have assets that are purchased and they're never sold again because the people who own them know that the US dollar is going to keep decreasing in value. And over time, we're going to continue to have these same cycles over and over again. And we can see here Japan's Nikkei 2025 took 30 years to go from one peak to a trough to another peak. But along the way, there were smaller cycles that happened within the Nikkei's price. And you can see here there were ups and downs, ups and downs. Eventually, this downtrend broke from up here all the way down here, and we started seeing an uptrend. That post was from 2023. Today, the Nikkei is up to $50,376, and you see a blow off top here with the Nikkei. But again, a lot of this is a result of fiat currencies just losing value. Your goal here as an investor is to use your knowledge to build your knowledge as much as you can of market cycles to buy, sell, or hold assets. If you're really trying to time the market, your goal should be to buy now, buy during the trough. Don't sell during the trough. Do the opposite of what most retail investors do. It's really difficult to predict where the market is going in the short, medium, and long term. But what I do is I dollar cost average no matter what. I don't care what Bitcoin's price is. I'm going to buy no matter what. I bought at 126,000, but I also bought some at 95,000. I bought Bitcoin when FTX collapsed at about 16 or 17,000, but I also bought at 36,000 in 2022 before FTX collapsed. I bought Bitcoin at 50,000 when the ETFs were approved, but I also bought Bitcoin at about 40,000 a few weeks later. Keep in mind that every peak becomes a future cycle's bottom. So at this point, when Bitcoin's price is at 40,000, people were telling me that I was stupid, but it never went back down to that price again. You can see here, Bitcoin's price was at 73,000 in March of 2020. And after that point, after it passed that number, it never came back down to it again. In April of 2025, it went all the way down to 75,000 or 74,800 or whatever, but it never went to the peak of March 2024. It doesn't matter what happens to Bitcoin's price in the short term, you should be buying with a 4 or more year time horizon because over time, every price becomes a rounding error. The price just keeps going up over the long term because there's a finite number of Bitcoin and there's an infinite number of buyers. Right now is a fantastic time to buy, especially if you subscribe to the theory that you should buy when there's blood in the streets. Most people are fearful. Most people think Bitcoin is going to zero. They think that we're headed to the next bear market. They subscribe to the 4-year cycle theory, so they think that Bitcoin's price is going to go a lot lower than where it is today, but I don't think they're going to end up being right. I told you before that this current cycle seems to be very similar to the 2017 cycle. The price went from about $200 all the way up to $1,000, and then it never came back down to $1,000 again. You can see here after $1,000, there was a blow off top to about 19,000, and then it came back down to about $4,000. But again, it never went back down to the prices where we saw this consolidation in Bitcoin's price from $200 to $1,000. I think that's exactly what's about to happen right now. If you're buying Bitcoin right now, I think you're going to be very happy within the next few weeks. But in the worst case, you'll be very happy within the next few years. At some point, Bitcoin's price is going to be moving $100,000 a year, then $100,000 a month, then $100,000 a week, then $100,000 a day. And at that point, you're going to be thanking yourself for buying when everyone else was fearful, thinking that Bitcoin is going to zero, thinking that Bitcoin's price has to go a lot lower because of the 4-year cycle. And you ignored all of them and you made the decision to keep stacking no matter what. If you found value in this video and you want to learn more from me, you can watch this video here where I explain to you how to never go broke again in 20 minutes.